Good morning, everyone. My name is Desierto. I also go by Demis online, and I'm joined here by.
Briana from Oh My Darling Designs.
There we go. I was waiting for that. But hey, it's been about a year since we last recorded, at least like professionally like this. Aside from like our other side projects that we do. First, I want to kick off is what have you been up to? Catch me up on like where the Briana was from the past and how she's doing now, art-wise.
I gotta say, I can't recall our previous podcast all that well.
Hmm.
We did talk about the art scene in El Paso and, what it was a year ago. Today, there is so much more activity. We have a new Mexican American Cultural Center that just opened up downtown. That is a recent event that I went to. It was an open house for
Hmm.
artists. So that's something very fresh on my brain right now. It was very um, refreshing to see just a place where artists can find opportunities. We're just scavenging around for like possible projects, mural work, artwork, graphic design work, the works, and I've never heard of this event before, and luckily for me, there's this guy on the inside that I know who works at the El Paso Museum of Art. He said, "Yeah, we've always done these open houses at, the El Paso History Museum, at the El Paso Art Museum." I'm like, this is the first time I heard of it, and that's
Hmm.
because the Mexican American Cultural Center opened up. And I never had gone there before. It recently opened, I think, in March, and
Right.
that was my first time also going to that event center. But yeah, low key just been trying to find more projects, having a lot of freelance work at the moment. I'm gonna say that I am excited to announce that I have a mural coming up
Ooh,
at a local
nice.
toy shop.
Hmm.
And I'm still in the talking stages with what the client wants for the mural. It's going to be kind of just a window display outside of his store, on the east side of El Paso. But yeah, super excited. I won't disclose which Toy Story it is yet, but
Okay, super
I
secret,
want
super
to
secret.
just like a secret project in the
NDAs
works
and
and
all
all
that.
that stuff. Yeah,
But no, that's
to
awesome.
get that. Yeah.
So how did that come about, the whole mural project? Because I know whenever we catch up in person, you were telling me about like, oh, I'm working on this for this client, like whether it was for a cannabis company or a Casa Realty, which we'll get into in a little bit. How did the mural come about? Because that's something completely new for you, if I'm not mistaken.
So those two clients that you brought up, they're graphic design related. This new client is more art related, more
Hmm.
illustration related, something more that I've been wanting to kind of dip my feet into. I've always told myself that I want to do a mural someday, and today was the day, or this year was the day that I've been waiting
This
for.
year was the
And
day. Okay.
yeah,
I
it's a
like
nice
that. I
little
like that.
saying. And so I met this client through a local Comic Con event.
Hmm.
This local high school has this thing that the students make at their school gym, and vendors from all over El Paso can sell their art or any like geek or nerd stuff related. And
Hmm.
I had some anime postcards that I was selling there. He was the guy in the booth next to me. We
Oh
talked.
wow.
He was a
Okay.
very guy, and
Hmm.
he mentioned that he saw my anime prints and he liked, how true to life the prints were to the actual anime, so he liked my
Right.
style in that sense. Just duplicate something easily.
Hmm.
So he commended me and he's like, "Hey, I got a few walls. I bought this toy shop a while back." And yeah, that's how that connection flourished. We've been in talks also since March, to like come up with ideas. I've been a little busy trying to catch up with other client work, and recently got a new job, as a graphic designer illustrator at a local high school. There's just a lot going on, and I've been trying to manage it all. And luckily, I have clients who have been patient and wanting that artistic touch from a local creative.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear. Also, kind of crazy how much of a chance coincidence that was, like meeting him at the convention just because he's on the booth right next to you. I guess to kind of help you out for my first question, one of the things that we talked about in the first podcast, which is almost a year ago, right? Which is kind of crazy how time goes by. We were talking
It
about
does.
local artists and how you had a strong opinion. How yes, it's good for an artist to make it in the scene and like get popular, but you felt like in El Paso's case and in Las Cruces as well that it's kind of like a game of Pac-Man, where sometimes an artist gets too popular that it kind of takes away opportunities from other artists in order to, like, stand out, show themselves. So it was a kind of a game of tug of war, in a sense, if I'll use that phrase to describe. So like, you're happy for your peers, but it's also like, okay, well, now I need to work harder somehow, while this person keeps eating up all the other opportunities. Now that you're getting to do your first mural, is there like a certain pressure with this project that you're feeling that you didn't with the other ones in the past that you've done? Or is this kind of like you're viewing it as like your moment, I'm ready for this? What's your attitude going into this?
I remember that conversation very well, or that part of the conversation, in a sense that, yes, it is difficult for artists still, to stand out as they're just starting out. And, the bigger, more established artists do get the opportunities in that regard, but there's always clients everywhere. And those bigger artists are supporting smaller artists. Christian Apodaca, I'm pretty sure was the name I mentioned, that rings a bell when it comes to murals. I don't feel a certain pressure when it comes to creating my first one. It's my personal project, and I honestly am looking forward to it, to work with the materials and the opportunity that this specific person has given me, because I found that client and I have a certain expectation of myself, just having fun with it and being and being able to deliver good work to my client. So that, in a sense, is like out of the picture when it comes to comparison. But Christian Apodaca has always like inspired me, in a sense that you can go big when you have an established look to your art. And recently she has also been working on just a lot of community-based projects. She has this project called Love Letters, and although I don't know much about it, it's not mural-based or anything. She wants to give that opportunity to artists to, like, hey, be involved in more arts and crafts, and providing a space for artists. So she is helping and supporting artists in that sense. Definitely great work that she does.
But yeah, for sure, editor Desierto, I guess, since I go by that whenever I'm this persona. We'll flash images up on the screen right now. Go follow this artist and all that, right? There you go. Thank you, Brie. That's nice. That's how I know where to edit. But it's nice seeing how your opinion from last podcast is kind of like evolved in a more wholesome way, because you're going from like, oh, well, it's kind of hard to like find your place as a starting artist, to being like, no, these big artists are still helping out the community. I feel good about what I'm doing. So it's nice hearing that. Speaking about community-based projects, is one thing that you talked about in the last episode is that you wanted to start doing more video content, kind of promoting El Paso, kind of doing what El Paso creatives and their other affiliate accounts are doing on Instagram. How is that going for you? Are you still making videos about what you see around town? Is it a process for you? Because that's someone that like primarily makes video content. I'm curious what your take on that is.
Correct. Yes, I am still doing video content, and still am in the works of honing in on that separate project. It is more video based, and I'm more tactile when it comes to making art and being the person that does it, not the person that records it. But there's so much beauty out there and opportunities in El Paso. I just had to like jump the gun and be like, I'll just do it. I'll just put a camera in front of something and just give my take on it, because I think more people need to know about what's going on in El Paso, and that is my responsibility to just kind of do it. Yeah, and I haven't been able to create much video content. I have the content, I just haven't had the chance to edit it all, and that's on me. But I'm excited to share what I've been. The one video that I have posted, yes, I gotta say, got very great traction. I did a little like, come with me downtown to this grand opening of a local coffee shop, and they opened up in the county courthouse downtown, and I thought that was really cool, to be able to support local like that in kind of the center of El Paso. And so I did a little small video, and the coffee shop actually collaborated with me and shared the post on there. That made me happy, seeing that there is a need of like people want to see this kind of content. And it's just me putting myself on behind a wall and not doing it.
Right. Well, I'm glad that that's
But
going good for you
yes.
so far. It would be exciting to see like you keep that up for sure, especially with like I feel like that was a confidence boost, seeing how good that video did and getting that collaboration in. Um, it sounds like you're very loyal to El Paso because we're a couple episodes into the new season of Desiertalks here, and with the models that I've interviewed so far, the main thing that I'm hearing from them is like, yes, I love El Paso, but there's more opportunities over here. I'm liking it better over here in this city that I'm at. So, are you still 100% El Paso is my home? This is where I want to like build, or are you thinking of maybe moving in the future because there are more opportunities somewhere? What's your take on El Paso right now for artists?
Well, I'm gonna break it down as a personal take and a professional take.
Okay.
Personally, I would love to move out to see what's out there. I feel like I can bring a lot of what's out there to El Paso. So in a sense, yeah, I'm still coming back to be an artist here professionally and making an opportunity and a name for myself here because I want to bring what I can, like, I want to bring myself to El Paso. I want people to see like who I am in El Paso and who other people are in El Paso because they have such a zest for life, this community. They just don't know it's out there.
Right.
But yes,
And what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate on what you mean by that last sentence you said? That they don't know it's out there?
like a zest for life. Not knowing what's out there. More so now, I'm gonna shout them out because they've been doing numbers here
Okay.
locally.
Yeah, I'll be sure to
Their
put it on
name
screen. Go ahead.
is Della's Story has done a phenomenal job of just showcasing local businesses in El Paso, and people are finding more things to do. And that's very healthy because, it means that they support local. They're not just going to the same, outlet shops or the same, kind of restaurant chains. They're getting out there and they're getting a little like creative with their decisions and trying to try new things. But it's exciting. It's exciting for us.
Yeah,
It's
for
exciting
sure.
for them. So I like to be able to provide that, exciting kind of feeling and opportunity for the community of El Paso.
Oh, well, that's awesome. And going back to my college days, I had a professor said that like, oh, I made it moment for a lot of graphic designers was when they get a sign that they designed on the side of a building, and that's something that happened to you recently here, because I saw on your Instagram, Oh My Darling Designs, that you recently posted your Casa Realty sign that made it on their building. Can you tell me about how that project started and what the feeling is like now, seeing your own work in such an official capacity?
Oh, definitely. I'm very proud of that. I never thought I'd get my logo on a building before, and it's not I made it moment. It's more or
Oh,
less
really?
they and I was able to provide that vision for them,
Mm-hmm.
It's always been about the client and what I could do to enhance their brand. And that came about in a very small sense where I used to work for a real estate company and they were a team separate from that. So it started out with like little flyers and business cards designs here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually they, embraced kind of what I brought to the table so much professionally to them and their look for their
Yeah.
clients that they kept working with me. We designed a logo and it eventually turned into a little sign outside of their office space where they're based.
And so
Very exciting.
I'll be sure to put up images as we talk throughout the podcast. What was your design process behind the logo, right? Something so simple yet so to the point,
Striking.
powerful, nice, bunch of other synonyms you could throw in there.
So I curate I curate a little meeting with my clients, what they're looking for, who they stand for, what makes them different from other real estate places in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this very nice group of ladies, and they're the Casa Real Estate team. And this logo actually has a double meaning. It has two logos actually. We got the team,
Mm-hmm.
which is a little house with a K inside. That is their team. They also established the brokerage, but the brokerage has two houses where it gives opportunity for other real estate agents to be a part of that. So they're not necessarily part of the CASA team, but they're part of the CASA brokerage, and they can be themselves in how they promote houses and curate client relationships in that sense. Real estate agents are always on it. They're always out and about and trying to make stuff happen. So being that a lot of real estate agencies here in El Paso don't really have like that brand awareness that they need to be like professional and look professional and give professional advice, content, and
Mhm.
experience to their clients. So that's what kind of inspired the house icon in a sense, and it's very important because they're real estate agents, they sell homes, and
Right.
it's very recognizable in a sense that I wanted to keep that as the icon, as well as just a elegant font that went along with them. They're very elegant ladies. They want to provide that a professional service to anyone and everyone, professional and personable.
Nice. There you go. Word of the day, right? But
Yes.
in a personal opinion type of sense, do you feel like, as a graphic designer, or even just speaking as a viewer of a lot of these companies and logos and how they try to present themselves, is there such a thing as too professional when trying to be like a business, trying to get your logo going? Do you think the more professional a company tries to come off, is that kind of off-putting, kind of loses a sense of personality and relativity to their customers?
Not at all, because it's the business's job to understand who their target audience is,
Mm-hmm.
and if that target audience is a niche, small, like very professional kind of millionaire person that likes to keep things niche within their brand. Kind of lost my train of thought here. It doesn't, a logo can't be too professional, it can range from different aspects based on the client's budget and the client's vision.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's no such thing as too professional or too childish. There was a question that my one of the students at the high school I work with proposed. She's like, "It's just my logos don't really look like the other people's logos. My logos look childish and kind of like different. They don't look as polished, so to speak, as the other people's logos were. It
Mm-hmm.
looked more corporate in a sense." I'm like, that doesn't matter. It's yours and it's your style, and you can find your niche. You can find your audience looking for that certain style. So people will come to you as long as you put content out there. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter if it looks like A, B, or C. Just put it out there. Whether it's corporate, whether it looks childish, you know, just hone your style.
And what would you say your style is by this point? How has that changed over the year?
Um, it's it's constantly growing still. I'm still growing, I'm still learning my style because it very much differs from the way I do graphic design. My graphic design stuff is more corporate, and although I haven't really touched my illustrator side of
Mm-hmm.
things, this is my first mural project. I got another project where I have to do a bag design, I have to illustrate a bag design. So I'm still learning how to find my style in that sense.
Right, right.
But it's been a fun journey regardless, and it's just doing it every day.
I feel like,
Or try.
finding your style is definitely a journey that every artist goes on. What do you
Yeah.
think your moment would be where you realize, okay, this is my style? And what do you think your style would be given how your art process is now? Like, would you say it's very like thick lines, like more like drawings? Like, where is it at right now?
Something I see my style with bold colors, with bold, oranges and pinks and blues and greens.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that not bold like neon bold, but in a sense as like a pastel bold. Um, no particular reason. I'm just a color person, and
Right.
I really do believe that colors are a great visual identifier of who someone is. Um, definitely leaves a certain mark when you think about a company or a person. I guess my moment is being at a vendor's market, looking at my booth, seeing people at my booth, like knowing that this style relates to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my moment, that I couldn't provide a certain look that they have in mind for themselves, but
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I like this artist's style, hey, this relates to me. That would be my moment, is just being downtown with my booth all set up and nice, and like it has a cohesive look, and my art has a cohesive look. Something along the lines of, I'll give you a list of like artists I really admire on Instagram, and kind
Mm-hmm.
of a little insight to like what I want to be, to like what I aspire from those artists.
Yeah, by all means, if you want to shout out a few of them right now, go ahead.
Off the top of my head, I love Mimi Dokis. She is someone I followed for the longest time, I think
Mm-hmm.
since middle school. Another girl that I have in mind, I'm pulling up my Instagram here right now. Um, gosh, she is not local, by the way. These are just artists that are more established, kind of outside of El Paso. Um, Yeah, I don't have anything in mind, but for sure, I really want to give you that list of
Yeah,
like
for sure. I
artists.
got you on the editing section. Just imagine a little
Okay.
slideshow fading in and out.
Yeah,
But
these are the wonderful artists. I'll give you like three of
there
them
you go, and
besides
they're
Mimi.
right there. Look at that little rainbow effect I threw in. Very nice, very nice. Woo.
Woo!
So another thing that, speaking on your behalf here, that I've noticed, being like your friend, supporter, throughout the years, that you have changed since the beginning of our first podcast last year, is you're doing a lot more vending now. Whether it's like at a house show or at a convention, how has the vending process been going for you, and what are some things that you changed up along the way to have more success when you're vending your own art?
Definitely. And I will start out with what I recommend. So, when you're starting out, just do, if you have to pay for the spot, just do 25 and below. Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't know your style yet, you don't know how much you're going to sell, you don't know how many people are going to come to this event. So just 25, pay for the space, no more than that. Because sometimes I've already had two occasions where I just made above $25 for the spot that I paid for certain events, and I'm kind of iffy about it. And for next time, you just have to do it for every event. You have to do it, see how well you do, to see if you come back a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that house shows are really where it's at. Like I've had my best kind of success selling things at a house show, and I didn't pay anything. So
Mm-hmm.
keep in touch with local musicians. They love to create kind of events to kind of fill the space, and fill like a community of people that like to listen to their music. It doesn't have to relate to your art, if you're thinking that. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have a certain, oh, it's just because I have a certain look. No, you're starting out, you're starting out. Just see what's out there. People at house shows always like to like do little buttons, little stickers, in a way, like they just love to be in the moment,
Right.
and little treasures that you can provide as an artist in your unique style.
And while it's definitely not the same as like in our high school days when we would go to these events, house shows are still, I feel, a big part of, I guess, the young nightlife scene here in El Paso. Because there's definitely like a whole other community there of artists and musical artists, supporting each other, working together. And I know me personally, like, buttons, stickers have always been like my favorite thing from that show. So it's very nice of you to like kind of give that shout out, give that tip to people. Um, and also that you're like finding your success. I know one time you talked about like, oh, maybe I should like change my prices. Maybe I should only, like with your anime prints that you do, like only do what's like popular, you know. Which kind of leads me right into my next question here. As an artist, what is it like for you accepting that sometimes you have to do what's popular over what you want to do?
Oh, um, I got like hit in the head with the hammer when that happened.
Right, right.
It was something I should have foresaw, like making the art, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do art because I like it and I like this certain character and I want to do it and it's gonna sell because it's art and people like art. People just don't like art. People like art that relates to them. People like art that is popular. People like art when not that when it's convenient, but you know, art I don't want to say it's a commodity if I'm using that word right. Let me look that up. Commodity. It's
Commodity.
it's something like
Yeah.
oh no, like it's a special thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a show and you'd be like, I like this button because it relates to me. I like this sticker because it's funny. It's
Mm-hmm.
relatable. So you had to create relatable art, not just art you like, and that's something that I didn't really consider when I first started. I was just making things I liked, and some people can like it, you know. Some people will like your stuff, like that certain thing that you're into. One person might like it, but if you create something popular that a bunch of people would like, you know, there's where the money is at, you know. That's where you're gonna see more sales and more traction when it comes to things like that, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, sadly, no, not only just for us as like graphic designers, um, but no matter what your community is, no matter what you're working on, it's definitely all about chasing trends. You know, speaking for myself, like personal experience, like I've been doing Twitch, YouTube for about a year now, because every year I try to like challenge myself to do something new. And while it's going good for me, I've realized that I'm not growing as much as I would like to, because I'm not, playing Fortnite. I'm not playing Marvel Rivals. I'm not doing what's in right now. I'm just focusing on like games that I want to play myself. And I feel like there's definitely like a level of acceptance and also a level of burnout that comes with this realization. Because it's one of those where it's like, okay, well, if I have to keep chasing trends, doing what's popular, this is just speaking in general here. Like, when am I gonna get to do what I want to do? You know, and if I do get to do what I want to do, there's obviously a risk of being like, okay, well, I gotta prepare myself mentally for that not to do as well, just because it's not like popular or a trend, you know? So, what are some trends that like you're realizing yourself that are kind of in right now in the design world, and what's kind of on its way out? What isn't really working? What can you speak on that?
I gotta say, and this is something that has bothered another artist friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
we hate the rubber hose style that's coming up. You know, there's little clip art images of like a little coffee guy, you know, doing a little run or something else like inanimate that like is given life,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in an anthropomorphic way.
Yeah.
And like we're tired of that. I mean, it catches people's attention, you know, who doesn't like a little doodle? Like that's the whole crux of like kind of my name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my darling designs is just kind of providing little doodles and little like kind of funny things that are relatable. But it's getting oversaturated a bit and you know, eventually it'll die out, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's up to you in the end if you have the means and the like energy to feed into that trend. Not to say that you won't do anything you won't like. I mean, you can make it, but you know, does it merit that same value that you bring to the table that you want to do it over just some trend?
Right, for
Because
sure.
trends will always bring merit for just a short amount of time.
Sorry, my light died on me for a second. But you know what? I think it's interesting that you say oversaturated. Because funny enough, when you were talking about like, oh, I was designing like a bag earlier, right? The first thing I thought in
Mhm.
my mind was like, okay, like when I pictured like the bag, I was like, okay, modern trend would be like a little rubber hose cartoon guy holding like shopping bags or something like that. So it's definitely something that's like in now, and I feel like that kind of just goes for the fact that a lot of retro vintage stuff has kind of been coming back lately. Like I was having a conversation, um, how cassettes are on their way back, and then we have like vinyl records making a comeback. We have VHSs as well as like popular. So I feel like that's just I guess part of the trend. I'm sure all these things will die out again as they go. But it's interesting how like
No,
rubber hose is in for sure. Going real back to your conventions and like selling art and all that. One thing that you recently posted that I want to touch on is you did a gallery show and you were able to sell your first sculpture piece. So can you tell me about like your sculpture and what was it like being able to sell it?
you keep listing all of these things that I've done, and it just baffles me how much I've been able to do in the year that we previously talked, because
Hmm.
I had nothing going on that year that we did our first talk. And now that I'm doing my first logo design, that's a sign. I'm selling my first sculpture piece. I'm doing my first mural.
Yeah, see, I did my
It's
research.
so happy. It's so happy to hear that from another person. But yeah, um, that was a little vendors. It was a gallery event, so
Hmm.
I wasn't really selling personally illustrated like anime cards or anything. It was the art I did on the side, while I was still trying to figure it out, so to speak. I wanted to take ceramics classes for the longest time since I was little, and 2021 and 2022 was the year that I just kind of went to classes that entire year. You know, I built that sculpture in a year. I'll give you a picture of it too.
For sure.
It's kind of looks like a Venus de Milo, and I really had no thought behind it. I just wanted to create a female figure,
Hmm.
and that came about with just me looking into, you know, gallery events and stuff going on. I believe it is the El Paso Art Association that gave me that space to do it. I did pay around a fee of $30 because I wasn't a member, but you know, given the circumstances, this was my first gallery show, and putting my ceramics, well, it wasn't my first gallery show where I put my ceramics piece. I did some gallery spaces events downtown where I also showcased them, and they didn't sell. But at this art association, there was a live-in artist that saw my piece and she bought it. She said it related to her so much that she didn't really like, there was, she never saw anything like it before,
Hmm.
and it spoke to her. So that's why we also need kind of more artists curated spaces, because you know, artists are supporting other artists. Galleryist shows are more like public to artist, but not artist to artist. um
Interesting.
that doesn't make sense. I mean,
No,
artists
it does.
are,
I
I'm
see
not
what you're
saying
trying to
artists
say.
don't go to gallery events, but yeah,
It's
yeah,
more of a
just
connection to the
have,
viewers than it is to other artists, is what you're trying to say, right?
correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, but
who came up to buy the sculpture? Like, what was the process like? What did you feel afterwards?
I wasn't there when it happened. You know,
Oh,
the
okay.
gallery has opening night.
Mm-hmm.
So opening night is like they have a little, like, you know, little food section, a little wine, a little cake of like, hey, this is the grand opening of this gallery. It was called Configuration, and the theme of the whole gallery was the human body figure. And everyone, you know, did their little like doodles or their sketches or their little like big painting pieces of you know, maybe a cowboy or a lady dancing. I'll give you some examples so you can put up, because these are amazing local artists.
Mm-hmm.
And the artist that bought my piece, she didn't necessarily, I don't think she did work for that gallery. She was just a live-in artist at that association, that kind of went to the gallery after the fact, when when the opening ceremony was done. And you know, they're still up to buy. They're still, this gallery is like, usually art galleries have installations that are up for like a month, and then they take
Mm-hmm.
it down, and then they do a new gallery with a new theme. But that's how that came about.
Very nice. Well, that's definitely an achievement there, especially because I feel like um, sculpting is not something that you typically do as an artist. So I feel like it must have been definitely a surprise to be like, wow, that's the one that sold. Has that kind of encouraged you
Mhm.
to chase other mediums of art? Or are you sticking still mostly to graphic design and you view this as just like a little notch on the belt?
That's a very interesting question. Um, Although I do want to pursue ceramics and illustration, I for some reason do not have the same love and attention for it as I do for graphic design. And it's it's completely the opposite. Like, I really, really want to do a sculpture and illustration, but it just takes so much time away from the graphic design stuff that I do, that I'm seeing it work. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing it work now. The work that I put into it a while back, like it's starting to work. And you know, why am I gonna, why I'm gonna stop when the going's good, you know?
Right, for sure.
Um so I think of this as the phase where I'll eventually, not in the near future, leave just graphic design a little bit and focus more on sculpture, on ceramics, on illustration, maybe painting. I don't know, because I do want to develop my style and sell little like art prints, like the artist I know that I am.
Well, that's good. I feel like it definitely did put you kind of like on a different path, mentally in some way. I see the gears turning there for the influence there.
Yeah.
So, are there any other like groups that you're still a part of art-wise? Like, do you have any connections with local artists? Because I know in college you were part of
Gosh.
AIGA. So, how is it now for you?
Yeah.
Like, where's your community at?
My community is everywhere. It doesn't have a name. The El
Nice.
Paso scene is just diverse at the moment. Everyone is flocking toward, and be sure to put this in. Um,
I got you.
Forgot the name.
Never mind. I don't got you.
It's the fall staff. The fall staff is the place to be right now, whether you're an artist, musician, or anything in between, because it's such a beautiful little spot, kind of close to downtown, little outside downtown, maybe more central El Paso, but they've got events going on like every month, and it's so diverse and it's so special that I feel like that is the starting point of something great. That is the starting point of artists communicating with each other now that we have a space to have. It's a place by artists for artists. So yeah.
And what does that mean, a place by artists for artists? What is it like then?
I want to say that I did meet, not with the owner of the fall staff, but like someone who is strongly working with events and stuff for the space. I think his name is Brian Holt. This may be wrong, so don't put this in. Brian Holt is a painter that does his installations at the fall staff, and I asked him more about it, and I believe he has a partner that started it out when they noticed this space, or this city needed a space for artists. So the vision slowly but surely had started to come to fruition. The Falstaff was also a place where La Mecca Contemporary Gallery was there first, but no one was really going to it. No one really knew about it. But Brian saw an opportunity to kind of just maybe, a ceramics person can come in here and do stuff here. Or maybe a pizza place can like do these like pizza nights for people here, and maybe that's a great space for a little coffee shop. And then Coffee Party came about. So slowly but surely, like, these spaces are starting to fill up with people who are creatively wanting something more out of their daily routine.
Okay, that's very interesting, and it's good that you shouted it out too, because I wasn't aware of that. But you do a good job already yourself on your Instagram of promoting local events, sharing like what's going on around the city. So definitely another reason for people watching this to go ahead and follow you, I feel. Kind of going back to the Desierto media as a whole, though, we've done photo shoots in the past. Are you still doing photo shoots and modeling on the side, or are you full on graphic design now in the current day?
Full-on graphic design now. I loved the opportunity that modeling gave me. I met some great models as well through that journey, but it was just something fun, and maybe I'll go back to it, but it's not something that I'm currently seeking or wanting to go back to anytime soon. But it's been fun.
Well, it's good to had a positive experience with it for sure. I feel like that is always a good thing to put out there, because I feel like not just for graphic design, but every community here in El Paso is trying to flourish in their own way. So it's interesting that you're kind of like dipping your toes wherever you can. But with that, I feel like we're reaching the end of the podcast. Is there any last bit of like tidbits, things you want to plug, things you want to bring up? Now's your chance.
Well, first things first, follow me on social media. I am only on Instagram. I have a Facebook up, but it's literally just the stuff I put on Instagram. For any events, workshops, or things to do in El Paso that maybe aren't even art related, I love to share them, and I love to tell people about things that are going on that they may not know about. Visit the MAC. The MAC is gorgeous. Everyone that lives in El Paso should at least go there once. And if you're not from El Paso, go there. Go there. The
sure.
Museum of History also provide great informative local culture and art, but the Mac is kind of like it's what's buzzing right now. So I like that. All right, but those are my two little like shout outs for
Alright,
today.
cool. Well, you know what? My name is Desierto Media, Demies, whatever you want to call me. I was joined here today by Oh My Darling Bree. Be sure to follow her, check her out, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you on the next one. Adios.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Bye.
for sure. Later.